Good to know you're still with us. Still on the scramble by the superpowers to gain commercial influence in Africa. I'm now being joined by Kasango Dixon Persa, Director General, Global Council for Promotion of International Trade. He joins me from Kampala, Uganda. It's good to have you on the program. Thanks for giving us your time. Now, I spoke with Dr. Iraki earlier, and my first question to him was the phraseology of the scramble for Africa. There seemed to be a shift from where that original term came from. I'd like your perception rather, on should we continue to say scramble for Africa when the dynamics is shifting? I think you're muted. See if you can unmute. I can't hear you. I still cannot hear you, sir. Can you consider removing your earpiece?
It's still on the same mindset.
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yes, it's still on the same mindset and looking at the very principles they initially had in mind prior to what we see as the scramble for Africa. The question is, okay, as they plan to do whatever they plan to do, how are we better positioned to, one, protect our continent through Pan-Africanism, as the doctor spoke earlier on, but also position ourselves from a lifestyle impact point of view, and also see that we actually have a conversion to the different people that are living in our different economies. Yes, so it's still, it's the same mindset, it's still happening, but now it comes down to the leaders and the citizens of these different African countries to understand their role to protect and own up to their possibilities to drive their countries individually or member states to become better. Yes.
One might argue to the contrary, actually. And one of the arguments would be the recent strides seem to be made by the South African government, influence that Africa is beginning to have. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa confirmed on May 22 that his country, along with Senegal and others, had submitted a peace proposal to both Russia and Ukraine as a precursor for ending the war now in its 16th month or more. Do you think we're overbloating our importance, or that Africa really is growing in importance and that is why the scramble continues?
My take on this with what is actually happening on ground in Africa, and I get where you're coming from, but there are things that we need to ask ourselves before we look at it from a government or policy level, or from a place that we're looking at protecting an interest as a country. We're looking at, okay, if we brought them on board, what's the value add of having Russia and Ukraine end this peace or have peace talks and resolve at the end of the day? So to you and I, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Uganda, in South Africa, we're looking at, okay, what does the peace between these two countries add to the African perspective? And now that is where we should have, because from a leader perspective, they are looking at, okay, can we actually get the grain that we've been getting? Because partly what was pushed in this different Russian African meeting, we're talking mostly about the grain. We're looking at the potential Russia can offer to Africa. But we need to also understand we are not just looking at becoming a recipient or a beneficiary or a consumption entity or a continent for whatever they're producing. We're looking at how can we get our continent from appreciating, just not consuming. We're looking at adding value to the products that we're producing locally. Can we get machines to come in and facilitate agricultural produce, to come in and irrigate the farms where we're having issues regarding drought at the moment? So even as we look at this, we need to understand what is the benefits it has to the continent. It's good the leaders are making strides towards it, but from an African free trade market continent area point of view, what does it actually mean? Because everyone wants to have a portion of a $1 trillion US dollar market. But are we protecting it that even when outsiders come with that interest, we can actually have every single member state in Africa benefit from this long term. Yes.
But I mean, I asked this question of Dr. Iraqi earlier that China is trying to displace the U.S. In their economic strength and all of that. But is Africa truly ready to embrace the gains that come from these competing forces? I wonder if it's really about Africa or a superiority fight. Same thing I put to Dr. Iraqi. But are we ready as a people to get the benefit from the scramble, so to speak?
I'm going to answer from two different points, and I'm going to defend my standpoint. One, as a continent, we are not ready. On the other side, we're making strides to become ready. I'll give an example. Up until lately, different African countries are getting to understand that the education system that was in place was not actually aiding people to become job creators, rather, not aiding people to become job creators, rather people seeking for jobs. So now, if you're putting people to a magnitude whereby they're realizing, okay, we're having now this market, China is coming in, they're building infrastructure, you want to have the skyscrapers, they're coming in to construct. Most of the times, these people do not actually live these different African countries. What does that mean? You're going to have a problem whereby by birth, the children they produce are going to remain in different African countries. And by virtue of that, they have a vast interest in that market. And it's not that it just happened accidentally, that they deliberate about some of these moves. Now, when you come to Uganda, we have been people, some of them own in the acres of land. You know, if food production is going to be the key thing. Today I was reading and realized most of the billionaires out in the world are investing land in agricultural land. What does it mean for us? Because we are good, we have the fertile lands. In Uganda, you throw beans outside and they can actually germinate the following day or the following month or the following decade. But now the question is, as we position in what the two, Russia, Uganda, and China already have, we are not yet ready to prepare to enter into that battle. The question should be at regional level, ECOWAS, East African community. What can we do as Africans? Where you're looking at what is happening in Niger, we should have quite a consolidated market and understanding among our leaders to say, can we protect an interest? If Uganda today needs to enhance its tourism, can we come together and support it from a place where we know that the return on investment is benefiting the continent? Right now, South Africa is having a lot of issues regarding energy, and we are trying to see how best we can work with financial institutions like ABSA, and they are opening, and we're looking at, okay, what does it actually mean from a small, medium, small, and large enterprise? If they're facilitated with affordable solar systems, can they actually scale and enhance their day-to-day operations? So now, from African perspective, we need to look at what we need to do to see that even as the superpowers play at their level, they're going to play. But Africa shouldn't be the place where they bring their battles to. We should be able to absorb and thrive beyond their battles. Yes.
You just brought a thought to mind, and that's the role of regional bodies in, trying to provide leadership in this, getting the gains from our interaction with these foreign powers. ECOWAS, what is your assessment of its role so far, the kind of leadership it is providing? You mentioned the situation in Niger. We'll come to that in a bit, but just speak on the leadership that they have provided so far. Or you might just add to it their response to the situation in Niger as, an instance of leadership in trying to move Africa forward.
Thank you very much. And just to add to that, we as Africa at this moment, all we need ECOWAS to do is facilitate trade, facilitate data structures, because that's where we are finding difficult for business people, because the African market is going to be driven by trade. And we now have an opportunity through the African Union in the Agenda in the Agenda 2065. We're looking at, okay, how can we enhance trade within Africa? But at ECOWAS level, they need to enhance that all the member states within ECOWAS can actually trade and have security amongst themselves with all citizens' minds at heart. So how is that going to be done? They need to put structures in place. The conversation around should not only rise when there is a coup in a neighboring country. It should be that it's an ongoing process. Don't only rise when a coup is happening. Come, let's see your impact over time. Today, and they know for a fact, even in West Africa, the United States has, you said, the United Kingdom has UK aid, and every single African can bear witness that they're having impact. It should be the same with ECOWAS. We do not just need to hear them when they're having member state heads of state coming in for meetings. It shouldn't be when we're having ministers coming to attend these meetings. It should be an ongoing conversation. We should have the feel in. An example, Benin is among the biggest mass grain cash crop growers in the different African countries. What does that mean? How are they facilitating from a structural point of view that they're availing maybe warehousing, they're availing affordable logistics? Because at that point, it's a country, they're looking at how they're going to create jobs for their different people. They're also looking at how best they're going to enhance the education level, enhance the economy. And these are things they should have systems in place to study these markets and aid trade at a level whereby we can trade with the different countries in Europe, in the US, in Colombia. That's now where we're looking at this region of different African bodies. When you listen through, everyone is talking about getting money through the government level. That's not the important level, because the government can collect taxes. All we need from them is to create structures that even when taxes come through, citizens in these different member states can actually get to benefit from the structures set. Yes.
Okay, I want to pick on something you said, our situation with AIDS. Over the last 6 decades, Africa has received more than $1 trillion in aid with conditions attached, of which some African countries, they're debarred from producing food for consumption. They just basically give out raw material. I also spoke with Dr. Iraki about that earlier. My question to you, however, is what is the impact of our aid accepting status and this growing importance that Africa is getting in the world, and how it will affect our bargaining power in enriching ourselves?
I'm going to base my answer on a case study currently being taken by the American Embassy, and I'm going to just give an example for Uganda at the moment. The United States has realized that in the past years, grants have been given out, but you can only have impact on small scale with grants, and it's usually the people behind running the grants that get to benefit, mostly on individual level. So what is the approach they're taking lately? Through an example, I'm going to give an example, through Feed the Future. They're looking at, okay, can we have an investment vehicle whereby you have a business, you've scaled up until a particular growth rate in business, you have audited books, at least you're trading, you've showcased a particular level of success in whatever you're doing, whatever sector. And can we aid you to get into different people that are ready to come on board to facilitate your business enhancement? That's one sector. On the other side, they're also looking into policy conception of the different stakeholders. And I'm going to give an example from an agricultural point of view. Africa, we are among the top producers of agricultural products across the continent. The problem we have, even just with CITO certificates that usually are needed for every single product to go into these different markets, the farmer does not understand their role. The trader does not understand his role. The logistics person transporting fish from the lake to the airport does not understand his role. All they know is what temperature do I have to keep these products at. And to us, it's a worry, and it scares us, because you cannot scale and sustain an economy based on agriculture, and you're looking at value addition. yet at stakeholder level, these things are not being appreciated. So through things where, like an example of what the American embassy is doing at the moment in Uganda, I'm yet to find out if they're doing it in other countries as well. We need to understand grants are good, but they need to come in to facilitate structured growth for our country and for our different member states within Africa. Because today the problem in the country is energy. It's around how do we remain environmentally friendly as we do our production in agriculture, in industrialization, and yet still get to employ more people as soon as we can. So that's the mind. It should come in at that level of thought. Yes.
I mean, for us to make any headway with manufacturing and producing what we actually need from the raw materials that we have to increase our powers, we actually do need energy. Where are we, do you think, in a conversation around maximizing solar power per se for our utilization to improve on our manufacturing efforts?
I think our leaders are working very strongly to achieve this. I know I have about 6 different projects I know about in South Africa where I actually have direct contact. We're in conversation with someone from the Minister of Energy in South Africa, and we're trying to push solar produced in Morocco with solar panels to see that the current issues they're having around energy can literally be mitigated. That is happening in Rwanda. Burundi is producing solar. So we're looking at how best can we have this done at continent level. So now the problem in this is going to be that, okay, vis-a-vis charcoal, I know different African countries still produce and cook using charcoal instead of gas. So you may not tell people that wake up one day, next year we do not want charcoal. What are the facilities you're putting in place to facilitate this energy and yet it's still affordable to people? Just neighboring country, Kenya, when they're in winter, their gas increases by $15 to $12 on the market. And that is just for a cylinder of about 24 kgs. So now from at government level, at Ministry of Energy level, what we need to do is that we facilitate the energy revolution for a long term, not short term. So that's now the conversation we need to be having, both at private sector level, but also at public stakeholder level. Yes.
Okay, let's move a bit because time is fast moving on us. Let's look at the situation in Niger Republic. All eyes are on ECOWAS and what they are doing there. My question was basically, what is, in your opinion, the impact of what is unfolding in Niger Republic and the growth that Africa has, so to speak, gotten in trying to increase our relevance in the global stage? How will it impact it? What needs to be done so we don't lose the gains that we have attained over the decades?
Thank you. I don't want to sound politically correct, but I'm going to state these facts. At African Union level, ECOWAS, East African Community, we need to look at, okay, in our different member states, what are the things we need to do that one can afford proper leadership. We can afford citizens in those different countries to appreciate that as we run this country, the citizens feel they're getting value for, one, the minerals in their country. They're getting value for the taxes they're paying. They're getting value for the strategies promised to them by the leaders as they're coming through for elections. Because I know across Africa, apart from the countries where we still have the monarchy system, every after 5 or 10 years, you're looking at elections. So at regional level integration, we need to look at, okay, how do we first of all facilitate proper operation of leadership in these different countries. I know it's going to start with the education because you're going to talk about corruption at one point, but within school, lately children are literally giving out sweets to be given votes at primary level or nursery level or high school. What does that show you? That by the time these people are getting into university, they are literally being put into place to appreciate that with money, I can literally get away with a lot. So they need to just facilitate. Niger at the moment, ECOWAS needs to understand what have been some of the reasons that have resulted into a coup taking place, and not just come out that the next president or the previous president should come back in place. They need to understand, listen from both sides. I know for a fact there are pros and cons to why this happened, but they need to look at, okay, can we mitigate? How do we facilitate peace terms? It's happened in Sudan, but you realize that most of the people who are affected, I know Ugandans, I know Kenyans, I know people from different parts of the world that are affected during that war. But how do you play that even the leaders, elected leaders of that particular country, can literally respect that regional integration level? Because if they can disobey it, if they cannot find respect when they call in to come into a meeting, that would mean that their things are not finding importance with that regional integration body. Yes.
We do have a long road ahead of us. What would be your final thoughts to our viewers on the Scramble for Africa, the new Scramble for Africa, and what we need to do to benefit the most from it? You've already spoken about some of them, but in conclusion.
Yes. So in conclusion, one, I think I'd cheer our leaders and public and private sector. Let's appreciate skill set growth and skilling across the different people. So let's look at it from high school level. Let's look at it at university. Let's have apprentice programs that are affordable. Open up gates in the top 100 businesses in your nation, so that now, by the time someone is leaving high school, they can run a business. Even now at government level, let's have structures that facilitate economic growth for our nation. Let's not just look at it from a place that we're looking at, let someone graduate with a degree and that's when they can know the economics. Let it be a conversation from family level. Let it be a conversation at university level. Let it be a conversation even in our curriculum that when I looked at the new developmental goals for the UAE, they are looking at how best can we get economics understood at literally childhood level. So those are things we need to do. We need to look at value addition. I know medicine is one of, healthcare is one of the things that Africa needs to look into. And we need to look at, okay, how do we tap into this? Can we make partnerships to facilitate this?
Our chore is right before us. A lot needs to be done for us to get to where we need to go. Thank you very much, Mr. Kasango Dixon Pasa, for sharing your thoughts and your time on One Slot.
Thank you. Thank you.